Now, I don't know if you're as obsessive about electric unicycle as I am. However, I don't think you even have to be an EUC nut like I am to have heard about all the discussion and controversy around the new Gotway MSP or MSuper PRO. Now, this wheel had been out for a little while now and had ran the gauntlet of reviews for all the major EUC YouTubers out there. However, despite all the exciting wheels coming down the pipeline, including all the new batch of suspension wheels from both InMotion as well as KingSong, I have no doubt that the MSP will remain one of the most controversial new wheels of 2020.
This week, I'm going to tell you what I think is wrong with this wheel and why it may still be an awesome wheel to buy and ride, and my love-hate relationship with the MSuper line of wheels.
Are you ready for a review of the Gotway MSP, the new torque king of the EUC hill? Let's go, roll the intro!
As always, if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe and stay to the end for a preview of the next episode. And I started a Patreon page. If you like what I do, help a brother out!
First, shout out to EUCO for letting me this copy of the Gotway MSuper PRO for review purposes. But as always, opinion expressed is strictly my own. Now I'm gonna just come out and say it, the MSP is slow. You get your first speed warning beep at about 32 miles per hour and the fourth one at about 36. And at which point you're at 80% voltage capacity, and beyond that, your risk of cutout, and I mean the wheel shutting off mid-ride, increases exponentially for every single mile per hour you exceed those numbers. If you're not sure why that could be very sketchy, next time you drive, attempt to increase your speed by only 1 mile per hour without staring at your speedometer. I bet that is going to be incredibly difficult for you to do.
First of all, it is extremely difficult to judge speed with that fine of an increment simply based on visual. Second of all, here is where all that torque the MSP has works against itself. This is a wheel that feels like it should easily hit 45 miles per hour, but cannot. You know the word, torque is great, but without a larger speed headroom, it can also mean that you can get yourself into trouble way faster.
Now there have been some controversy as to exactly what is the max speed that the MSP can actually achieve. However, in my opinion, the fact that the wheel can reach terminal velocity if you throw it out of a window doesn't mean that speed is actually achievable in real world conditions. This is the wheel that free spin at about the same speed as the 84-volt MSX. Now, according to this chart, which was originally provided by Gotway, and of course being Gotway, the information came in the form of a napkin sketch. The 84-volt MSX has a top speed of 36 miles per hour. Is it possible to go past the maximum speed recommended from Gotway? Yes. Will you likely crash and horribly hurt yourself? That's a yes as well.
And again, looking at that chart, the difference in top speed between the MSP and the MSX is just 11 kilometers or 6.8 miles per hour, which may not seem like much, but you see, the MSuper line of wheels have long been known for their uncontested speed. The MSX, which is the predecessor to the MS Pro, is still the fastest stock electric unicycle ever sold. Vinny, our infamous local rider, got it up to 47 miles per hour before cutout. And although by no means do I ever suggest trying for anything like that, it is comforting to know that even if you are riding at 40 miles per hour, which is crazy crazy fast, you still have quite a bit of headrooms left. And it wasn't just me that was confused by the release of the MS Pro. Here is everyone else's reaction when we first demoed the wheel back in January of this year.
Top speed was 33.7.
So it goes slower than the MSX?
Yeah, definitely.
I don't get it. Why would they make it?
But do you feel the torque?
Yeah, it's definitely a little bit torque.
From what I was reading, I was like, dude, what, lower top speed on 100 volt? That makes no fucking sense.
And the speed wasn't the only confusing feature either.
It's the same spot.
Yeah, it's the same spot.
No, I see a difference.
Oh, stop it.
Unless you're measuring.
Now I'm going to contradict myself by saying that no, the Gotway MSP is not a slow wheel. Even at the first beep, which is again how Gotway warned its user that they're now entering the red zone where additional speed increases your likelihood of cutout. And again, the caveat being that this is all battery capacity, weight, and terrain, hill, and all of that dependent. It's likely that you're going to be traveling even at that low end threshold at a much higher speed. Neither InMotion or KingSong would ever allow any of their wheel to be going at.
And I have no doubt that this wheel has more torque than an MSX. I rode one after the other just for good measure, and the differences in acceleration is immediately noticeable. Keep in mind that this also varied based on technique and setup. Someone with the appropriate speed pad would squeeze way more acceleration out of this wheel. For instance, Kuji got a crazy 0 to 31 mph time of 2.3 seconds, but you see how deeply he is leaning into his wheel? That is a level of faith I have yet to achieve with any of my electric unicycles.
But still, all that torque make the Gotway MSP an incredibly fun wheel to ride. Despite its weight, once you get this wheel going, there's this sense of incredible lightness that I have never felt with any other electric unicycle that I have ever ridden in the past. You're doing a group ride and wondering exactly what is happening up front? Well, the MSP is your express elevator right up to the top floor. As long as everyone is staying at around 31 mph or below, which in case if you have any KingSong or InMotion rider in your group, that's going to be their max speed anyway.
I mentioned group rides because for the most part, that's where the differences in a few miles per hour really become obvious, since you won't need a speedometer to tell that the guy who is 5 miles per hour faster is pulling away from you, and that your wheel beeps angrily at you every time you try to catch up.
I find myself constantly hearing the beeps while riding and even counting them just to make sure that I'm still maintaining a decent margin of safety, which is again only possible given the insane situation that New York City is going through with the lockdown, so that there's no traffic and the street is actually quiet.
But again, this is very likely not a normal range considering the people I hang out with. See, they're the problem, not the wheel. Just kidding, we're still cool, right guys? The other great thing with the group ride is that we can get a solid gauge on the range of this wheel under heavy load condition. Of the 3 borough ride we did, we clocked in about 42 to 44 miles, and I made it home with about 10% battery left. Not bad considering how hard I was pushing the MSP the entire time. So no, obviously it can't match the range of my 2460 watt-hour monster, but 50 miles is probably a reasonable range expectation for this wheel. All that sounds great, but then there is the wheel itself. I have to confess that I never liked the design of the MSuper line of wheels. The case always looked somewhat cheap and plasticky, and it also is thin and tend to crack and shatter easily if you just kind of look at it the wrong way. The dip in the back where the trolley handle sits tend to gather water in the rain, and although the seal has supposedly been improved, the additional openings made for these two speakers probably compromise that further. So I'm guessing that you will still likely not want to ride this wheel in a downpour. And if you're a first-time Gotway owner, just know that they have had some QC issues in the past, and the standard procedure for anyone buying a Gotway wheels should be to open it up the day you receive it and check to make sure that none of the wires are pinched and that all the screws are in fact tight. There is a trolley handle, as in it exists, but I rarely see anyone use it, likely for good reason since it is poorly balanced, and if you tip it the wrong way, the wheel will likely run amok and head directly to the closest baby carriage. Gotway also added a cutoff switch right here, except that it prevents you from using the seat accessory since that seat would actually touch this button, which in turn would again shut the wheel off. You can mod the seat to work, but like the trolley handle, at that point you're really piling Band-Aid on a problem that is inherent to the wheel. And I'm sure you can hear the buzzing sound that's coming from the wheel. That is actually the fan, and it runs whenever the wheel is on, so it sounds like you have a belt sander going on at all time inside of your house. And it's not a big deal, however, it is actually quite annoying. The tire is the other question mark. The stock tire the MSpro come with is a road-oriented tire that have been used on prior MSuper wheels. Now, one of the first things people thought of when it comes to a high-torquing electric unicycle is that it would be great for off-road trail riding. But the problem is that I am not quite sure if the stock tire is great on loose surfaces. Now, by no means do I claim to be an experienced trail rider, but I can feel the tire slip on dirt and grass on a few occasions, and you may need to swap for a grippier tire if that's what you really want to do.
The ergonomics of the wheel is also quite strange. The pedal has a much steeper rake than all the past MSX, and I have yet to hear of a single positive review for this new steeper angle. People have gone as far as sanding down the pedal or even replacing it with the older generation MSX pedal in order to reduce the steep angle. And I do have to say that despite not having any experience on the prior gen MSX wheel, that these pedals do seems like they are tiring out my feet a lot quicker because I'm spending more time standing on the outside edge of my feet. Ride-wise, it is a more top-heavy feeling wheel. And yes, the Gotway Monster have the same feel, however, the MSP lack the overall stability that comes from the larger diameter 22-inch wheel. And as a result, you kind of feel that way a lot more. But yes, in general, you do still get a bit more stability than the smaller diameter 16-inch wheel, like the KingSong S18X, or even Gotway's own Nikola. However, in my time riding the MSP, I have gotten the wheel wobble on a few different occasions when I hit the pothole just the right way.
So the problem I see with the MSpro is that I'm not really quite sure whom it is for. If you are a seasoned speed rider who bought the MSX because it is the fastest wheel available on the market, then the MSP is no upgrade for you since it is slower. Yeah, you can fit an off-road tire on it and call it your dedicated off-road wheel, but how many of us have the luxury of owning a dedicated purpose electric unicycle? After all, one of the main reasons why I love EUC as much as I do is their general flexibility of use. I can go on a 50 miles group ride one day and then go grocery shopping the next on the same vehicle while slipping it underneath my office desk on Monday morning. But if you're not a hardcore rider, then there are the many housekeeping issues that make the MS Pro less attractive, like the fragile shell, the less than ideal weatherproofing, and the terrible trolley handle. Basically, all the little things that make a Gotway wheel much more maintenance intensive than many of the other options out there. But despite all my complaints, I can't deny the flat-out joy that the MS Pro brings and the smile that I can't seem to wipe away every time I'm on this wheel. Because remember, a roller coaster doesn't have to be fast to be exciting. It just has to get you from 0 to fast very quickly to be fun. And there are no other electric unicycle on the market that can do this as well as the Gotway MS Pro.
Let me holler at the DJ. Let me holler at the DJ. My album hit hard when I roll hard.
And oh man, look at the time! I somehow managed to waste another 10 minutes of your life, but I hope you enjoyed it. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. And as much as we all love electric unicycle, the only way for us to get better wheels is to grow as a community. So tell your friends and teach them how to ride and get them hooked. And if you feel an overwhelming urge to give a few dollars to a complete internet stranger, please check out the link below for my Patreon in the video description. Until next week, thank you.
No, I ain't done yet. Everybody in the club, go to work, club, club. Everybody in the club, club, club. Go to work, go to work, go to work, 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 work. No, I ain't done yet.
Lock the chain, lock the chain, lock the chain, lock the chain, lock the chain.
Next week, what good is an MS Pro review without an off-road portion, since that is, after all, what this wheel seems to be designed for.